Beyond the stories of Sarah and Omid, two children of political prisoners executed in 1988 who have been themselves forced into exile more than 20 years afterwards. Many press articles reported how after 2009, families of political prisoners executed in the 80s were summoned for interrogation, their phones were tapped again, and their activities put under surveillance. It is difficult to see clearly the motivations and procedures of a state apparatus that has taken form through 30 years of illegal violence, arbitrary practices, and secrecy. But an hypothesis that further research and testimonies would have to confirm, and I'm beginning one of these research now, is that repression targets more specifically the children of prisoners executed in 88 on at least two levels. First, relatives of political prisoners have been followed and monitored throughout their school, university, and adult life. These filings and surveillance organized the blanket of silence on the mass killings of 88. And they did more, since they drew a map for repression whenever the Iranian society needs to be silenced again, as is the case since the presidential election of 2009. Second, reports on the mass killings and many testimonies show how state violence was based on marking the enemies who should be annihilated. Sarah and Omid's experience let me believe that the children are in turn marked and perceived as enemies. The ideology of the enemy is carried on when security forces ask about Sarah, how could she not hate us after what we did to her father? The injustice and violence that deprived us of our parents have opened a space where political issues and the most personal, intimate dimensions of our lives are matched together, whether we like it or not. This is where I stand and where I am speaking from. And like the Iranian security forces, although in a very different perspective, I see there a tremendous potential for agency and action. Thank you.
Our third speaker is Mehdi Aslani, who I guess, following in a similar vein to Chowra's presentation, I think will tell a very personal story that connects to the issues that we're looking at today. Mr. Aslani is a former political prisoner. He was arrested in 1984. He spent 5 years in the Gahaj prison, where many leftist prisoners were detained. Just like Chowra, he's also published a very important book, a set of his prison memoirs called The Raven and the Red, and he's also the co-editor of a compilation of victims' wills and last letters, and the first volume of that has already been published. So, Mehdi, it's a real honour for us to have you here. Thanks very much.
با عرض سلام و ارادت خدمت خانم ها آقایان محترم، وکلا، متخصصان، کارشناسان حقوق بین الملل و بقیه دوستانی که در این جمع حضور دارند.
First of all, I would like to express my greetings to the ladies and gentlemen, the lawyers, experts, and also the international law experts present in this meeting.
در بیانیه عمومی منتشره در ارتباط با اهداف این سمپوزیوم یک روزه آمده وکلا، کارشناسان برجسته، دانشگاهیان، مدافعان حقوق بشر و قربانیان، من خط میکشم زیر قربانیان، در این سمپوزیوم یک روزه گرد هم اومدن تا نظرات خودشون رو مورد پرسش‌های مربوط به عدالت دوران گذار و راهکارهای موجود برای دادخواهی ارائه دادن. از میان همه عناوین فوق من تنها با صفت قربانی مورد شناسا واقع میشم.
In the general statement of the symposium, it has been written that the lawyers, outstanding experts of international law, academics, and also the defenders of human rights, as well as the victims, are taking part in this one-day symposium. I have underlined the word victims here. and here the people would present the views about the basic question of transitional justice and the methods to restore justice for the victims in this respect. And among the people taking part in this meeting, I may be called a victim.
من اما اینجا حضور ندارم تا از راهکارهای موجود و پرسش‌های مرتبط با عدالت دوران گذار بگویم.
I'm not here to talk about the approaches and the questions related to transitional justice.
سخن گفتن خودم و مقابل این همه کاربلد متخصص در حوزه حقوقی رو از بن ماجرا اتلاف وقت حاضرین میدونم. بنابراین باورم آنه که پیامد شهادت من در امر دادخواهی مؤثرتر از ورود من به حوزه حقوقی باشه.
Talking among legal experts here would be a waste of time. Therefore, I think it would be better for me just to talk as a witness here. This would be much better and much more effective than talking about law and legal issues.
اگه بپذیریم یکی از راه‌های مقابله با خوره فراموشی و تاخ زدنش با یاد و حافظه تکرار باشه، اونجا که حافظه هنوز له نشده این مانده جان که من باشم رخصت بده، از شما اجازه میخوام در همین جایگاه تا فرجام نهایی به عنوان شاهد باقی بمونم.
As far as my memory would allow me, I will ask for your permission to allow me to talk here only as a witness and nothing more.
امید دارم تا دوام و بقای جمهوری اسلامی با کهنسالی احتمالی برخی از ما قرین نشه. اونجا که در آینده قابل دسترس برخی از ما شاهدان سوژه خبری محافل حقوق انسانی قرار بگیریم که هی نگاه کن این که روی ویلچر نشسته یکی از همون 67 های سخت جانه که هنوز داره خاطره نقل میکنه.
We hope that the life of the Islamic Republic would not continue so long that we become so old and we become a news subject being referred to as an old person living on a wheelchair still presenting memories of the 1988 incident.
گابریل گارسیا مارکز در جایی گفته که هیچ انسانی نمیدونه کدوم لحظه از زندگیش خاطره میشه. من اما میدونم کدوم لحظه از زندگی من خاطره شده.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez says that no one knows which part of his life would turn into a memory, but I already know which part of my life has become a memory.
من دیگه حتی خواب خاطرات خوش غارت شدم رو نمیبینم. 23 ساله نتونستم هیچ خوابی رو با یاد هولناکی اون خاطره تاخ بزنم.
I am not even able to have a good memory and a good dream as it has been stolen from me. It has been 23 years that I have not been able to compare any good dream with the nightmares that I have had in the past 23 years.
از اون سال که تبر بود و خواب سنجاقک آشفته دیگه تابستون برام تابستون نشد. 23 سال همه تابستونا برای من صدای لاستیک کامیونای یخچالدار میدن و بوی صدر و کافور و وحشت و ترس و از اون تابستون که هیچ جخ از همه 67 تابستون نیومدم بیزارم.
Since that summer 23 years ago, I have become resentful of all summers, and the only thing I can think of during summers is the refrigerated lorries and the smell of the death and fear. And I not only have had a very bad memory in the past summers, I think that I would never be able to have a good memory of summer.
23 سال پیش وقتی از شکاف کرکره های آخرین بند سلول 8 زندان گوهر دشت به تماشای مرگ ایستاده بودم و بغض میترکوندم و با نگاه ناباور فاجعه تاب می‌آوردم، نمیدونستم روزی فرا میرسه که باید در جایگاه شاهد بایستم.
23 years ago, when I was looking from behind the shade of the number 8 cell of Gohar Dasht prison, watching death, I never thought that I would have the chance to sit before the ladies and gentlemen as a witness.
خانم و آقایان، موقعیت بندی که من در زمان وقوع کشتار درش قرار داشتم به گونه‌ای بود که زنده موندگان اون بند از جمله کسایی هستن که این شانس یا بدشانسی تاریخی رو نصیب بردن که بیش از دیگران شاهد باشن، چرا که بند 8 مشرف به حسینیه و آمفی‌تئاتر زندان گوهردشت یکی از دو مکان اصلی اعدام‌ها بود.
The place where I was placed in prison, my cell, was positioned in a way that I do not know whether I should call it luck or bad luck, historical luck or bad luck, but it was positioned in a way that from my number 8 cell I could see the Hosseiniya and also the prison's amphitheater where all the main executions took place there.
نیمه های مرداد بود. تردد شبانه کامیون های یخچالدار حمله گوش و چکمه پوشانی ماسک زده که در آن گرمای جهنمی جایی را سمپاشی می کردند.
It was in the middle of the summer and we had the refrigerated lorries and also some masked individuals with boots walking about and spraying poison in that hell.
بر ما دانسته نبود که این همه از چیست. ما شبانه ترین شبهامون رو دوره میکردیم، اونها مردگان و عقوبت. مجاهد کشی رونق ایام بود، هنوز تا چپکشی و شهریور و ساعت صفر دو دانگی باقی مانده بود.
We were not aware what was happening. We were passing some of our darkest nights and they were after retribution and killing the mujahids on those days and also the left-wing individuals, and there were still time left up to 0 hour.
خاوران رو برای شروع نیمه دوم بازی مرگ شیار میکردن. اون چی رو که میدیدیم باور نمیکردیم، یعنی نمیتونستیم و نمیخواستیم باور کنیم. آخه به چه دلیل فرمان به قتل زندانی حکمدار داده بودن؟ مرگ باور نبودیم. در بخشی از رمان معروف کوری، اثر خوز سارامانگا، از زبان یکی از شخصیت‌های رمان اومده، فکر نمی‌کنم کور شدیم. ما کوریم. کوری که می‌بینه، کورایی که میتونن ببینن اما نمی‌بینن.
They were digging the Khavaran area and we were not able to believe, or we did not want to believe what was going on. Why should have they issued a verdict to execute the prisoners? We did not believe in that there would be death waiting us. And in the famous Khouries, in the famous novel of, in the famous book of, in the famous book called Khouri from Jose Saramago, one of the famous characters of Jose Saramago's books, Khouri, says, I did not think that I would become blind. We are blind. We are blinds who can see. We are blinds who can see and at the same time cannot see.
نیمه شبی در مرداد ماه سایه افرادی رو دیدم از پشت کرکره نزدیک حسینیه در رفت و آمد بودن، مثل سایه های مرگ آثار هیچکاک.
It was in the middle of summer and I saw the shadow of individuals who were walking close to the Hosseiniya and they were similar to the shadow of death in Hitchcock's books.
کامیون رفت، نزدیک صبح برگشت.
The lorry left and came back close to morning.
صورتمو به میله چسبونده بودم، اونقدر پشت پنجره بیدار موندم صبح شد. رنگ به رخسار نداشتم، زردی خورشید پاورچین به میله ها نزدیک شد و با رنگ صورتم در هم غنود.
I had stuck my face on the prison bars and it wasn't long from morning and the sun was gradually coming up and my face was being exposed to the sun.
ششم شهریور انتظار به سر رسید. به بیرون فراخوانده شدیم. لحظاتی بعد در دسته های کوچکتر در یکی از اتاقهای دربسته جا گرفتیم.
It was 6th of Shahrivar and we were called outside our cells and after a while we were placed in smaller groups, and we were placed in one of the closed rooms.
لبای خشکیده و برآماسیده‌مون در حسرت آب له له میزد. نوشدارو اما برای به نوبت ایستادگان مرگ بشکه‌هایی از جرعه‌های زهری بود که خمینی با پذیرش قطعنامه مجبور به نوشیدنش شده بود.
We were all thirsty, but the only thing waiting us was barrels of poison, which Khomeini had to accept by drinking the poison, by accepting the resolution over the war.
آمفی‌تئاتر حسینی گوهر دست از مدت‌ها قبل و تعبیه دارهای چند ردیفه آماده ضیافت خونین کرده بودند.
Gohardash Amphitheatre and Hosseiniya were already prepared for the executions by placing some gallows there.
خانم و آقایان، اگه فرض رو بر این بگذارم که من اکنون در جایگاه شاهد و در مقابل دادگاهی واقعی قرار گرفته باشم، بی تردید تا همین جای کار با قطع چند باره ریاست دادگاه مواجه خواهم شد.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we assume that I was before a court here talking as a witness, I am sure that by now I would have been interrupted several times by the chairman of the court.
فریاد که آقا لطفاً از موضوع خارج نشوید و شهادتتان را بدهید. ما نیامدیم شعر بشنویم.
The chairman of the tribunal would have interrupted me, asking me, please don't divert from the main subject and provide your witness testimony. We are not here to listen to poetry and to stories.